A Turning Point USA Women's Leadership Summit on Friday in San Antonio, Texas, was the scene of this violent protest, chaotic clashes between protesters and police. Some of those masked agitators even attempted to swarm one of the entrances to the summit, which prompted that police response. One particularly deranged individual even reenacted the assassination of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk last September, while ringleaders made vile remarks targeting Kirk's widow, Erika.
Listen, Kirk, hear us scream, your Nazi regime!
Erika Kirk, go to hell! It is right to rebel! Erika Kirk, go to hell! It is right to rebel!
But the hate against conservatives was not confined to San Antonio on Friday. The NYPD released this video of a suspect who is distributing flyers on behalf of a Democratic candidate for office outside of a residential building in Brooklyn. This was on Thursday afternoon. Now, according to police, the suspect then assaulted a 98-year-old man with a broomstick and a chair during a confrontation shortly thereafter in the lobby of the residence. Now, the suspect is 27-year-old Tishara Abel, then fled the scene following the alleged assault, but then was later identified by the victim via surveillance video. The 98-year-old victim was treated on the scene for minor head injuries. Thank God it was only that, but declined to go to the hospital. Abel told police that she never struck the victim.
Well, Jack Posobiec is a TP USA contributor, a former Navy intelligence officer. Thank you for being with us today. You know, it's shocking, as a Texan, it's shocking to see things get this violent in Texas. San Antonio, a blue city, and they don't have the police get that involved. But, you know, it's one thing to oppose somebody's political views. It's just, you know, a whole different thing when you're talking about, you know, celebrating the death of somebody and wishing for the death of their widow. How has it gotten this far out?
Well, thanks again for having me on. And unfortunately, these are the same forces that led to our friend's murder in the first place back in September, coming up, I guess, about 9 months now since that happened. And we're going to be the 1 year in short order here. And what it is you have a group of people in this country that have become so radicalized that they tell you exactly what they believe. They want to see people like Charlie Kirk and his family destroyed. They want to see his wife destroyed. They want to see Turning Point USA destroyed. They are not interested in debate. That's what Charlie Kirk stood for. Charlie stood for and lived and breathed and died for the idea that we would have debate and freedom of speech and free ideals in this country. What do these people stand for? Destruction. Destruction, malice, resentment, petty resentment, grievance. They want to tear everything down. And anyone who stands in their way, or like Charlie and Erika do, stood up for something that was good and wholesome and Christ-like and godly and family and all of those things, that's what they want to destroy, because ultimately that's what they hate. And this is key. You need to be taken seriously, because I fear that if they're not, that Charlie will not be the last one that they go after.
Yeah, Jack, what you're pointing out is so true. I've covered so many of these protests, been out there in the street. These people, they're about anarchy. That's what they're really seeking. Just tear everything down. And we also have some more from that, whatever you want to call it, happening outside there in San Antonio, of what they were saying about Charlie Kirk. I'm going to play that.
Charlie Kirk deserved to die! Women hold up half the sky! Charlie Kirk deserved to die! Women hold up half the sky! Charlie Kirk deserved to die!
Jack, these people aren't interested in a debate, like you said.
No, they're not. And what people also need to understand is that the second part of what they're saying there, women hold up half the sky, this is a quote that's attributed to Chairman Mao from back in the Communist Revolution of China and the Cultural Revolution, which was held in the 1960s, 1970s, where Chairman Mao would go to the Red Guard youth and have them essentially tear down, destroy, torture, and kill all of his political enemies, and including people who he viewed as enemies of the revolution. That included school teachers, it included small business owners, it included basically the middle class of the society of China. They were dragged out into the street, tortured, were put on struggle sessions, in many cases were shot in front of massive crowds of people cheering. So they know exactly what their program is. They're operating off of a playbook. The behavior is completely unhuman, but this is a playbook that has been used in country after after country after country, and now it's here.
Yeah, I think, well, first you see the flags with the hammer and sickle. Not that American.
That's a giveaway.
Yeah, it kind of is. But
Bit of a
also,
clue.
people, you watch. If they're coming for dialogue, they generally don't show up with their faces entirely covered. Hats, sunglasses, masks. The same mask, by the way, they don't think that ICE agents should be able to wear. It doesn't seem like Charlie Kirk's message necessarily is appreciated by them, which is, let's talk about our differences and learn, how the other side thinks and respect that we do have differences.
No, they're not interested in this. And you hear the same kind of policies brought up by people like Zohran Mamdani, who say that we need to tear down people who are successful. We need to go after people based on ethnic and racial and gender grievances that Mamdani has. It's the same type of very dangerous politics. It's greed, it's envy, it's lust, it's being covetous. The things that the 10 Commandments warn us about, that they are completely against, and weaponizing these sins into a political agenda to justify some of the most brutal violence the world has ever seen. And communism is responsible for 100 million deaths, and certainly you can add Charlie Kirk's name to that list.
Yeah. Jack Posobiec, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.